Hey, welcome to 100 Mile Drive, a channel where I teach you to buy the right car. Here's the thing, guys. I keep getting emails from Volkswagen about the lease special on these ID4s of $44 a month. Of course, with some down payment and some fine prints. But it got me thinking why they're pushing this car so much. Is it even a good car to buy? And most importantly, how does it stack up against the biggest rivals like Tesla Model Y and Hyundai Ioniq 5 that are recently reviewed on the channel? So here we are, 2023 Volkswagen ID4S rear-wheel drive that has a 62 kilowatt battery with 201 horsepower, 229 pound-feet of torque, and 209 usable range. And by the end of the video, I will tell you who would be the right person to buy this car, and of course, would I personally buy it. Let's dive in. And guys, if you watch 100 Mile Drive for the first time, well, this is the channel where I say before you buy a car like this or any other car, you need to rent it from places like Turo and drive it from at least 100 miles on city streets, highway, and twisty roads to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel is how does it feel to drive? And first, a 30-second walk around this Volkswagen ID4S. Just want to quickly point out that Volkswagen didn't go very aggressive with this car like Kia EV6 or Hyundai Ioniq 6 or even Ioniq 5, which is a completely retro looking design. Now this car rides, it's a S trim, so it rides on 20-inch wheels, and these are 235/50 R20, very comfortable wheels and tires package. Now the rear also looks pretty classy. Now this is the car which I would say doesn't have any emotions as such. It just looks nice. It just looks like it'll cater to most people who just need a daily driver kind of, in EV form. And this actually does translate into the driving experience that I'm gonna touch on in a moment. Now let's do a quick door sound check. Now you don't have the handles, it's just all, sensors. Okay, it's pretty, heavy door, pretty solid, I would say. Now let's get on the inside and check interior quality. All right, getting on the inside, and I immediately want to address the quality of this ID4, starting from these doors and this top panel. It is soft touch, actually. It's kind of on the harder side, but still, I think this will stand pretty well to the scratches. It's kind of scratch resistant. Some soft touch materials here with some stitching, some piano black, and of course, hard plastic here, which you will find on competitors as well. And now going on the inside, closing the door, this is what the steering wheel looks like, a typical Volkswagen steering. And what I like about this dashboard, it looks pretty cool, pretty ergonomic, pretty spacious. Now this is soft touch here. Where Volkswagen chipped out is this piece right here. This is hard plastic, and look, this piece right here, it's peeling off, kind of. So I wonder what will happen in 4 or 5 years when there's a lot of sun hitting this area. Will it's gonna just peel, or is this just a manufacturer's defect in this area? Other than that, I like the whole ergonomic, space in this car. A lot of storage spaces. Yeah, even look at this clip right here for the phone. You just slide it in here. There's just literally a clip, and this is a wireless charger. That's pretty cool. Again, a lot of spaces to put your stuff. And the seats, let's talk about seats. Are they comfortable? I already spent a day with this car, and yes, they are not super plush. They are not firm. They're just, I can press here. They're fairly comfortable seats, and I actually kind of satisfied with them. So this is what your typical ID4 looks like. One thing I want to show you that Tesla fails to do, even when being asked like all the time, is this area right here. This is a panoramic roof. I can open it and show you, demonstrate. I think I have to start the car and then open. There you go, it's open now. And tell me why Tesla fails to build this shade here that all people are asking. Today's a sunny day, but I can have an option to close this all the way. Yes, Tesla has a wider, it's a full roof that there's glass, but I find it useless without the shade. They should definitely introduce some kind of shade. All right, enough of this. Let's go ahead and drive it. And first I'm gonna drive Volkswagen ID4 in the city. I'm gonna put this car in the sport mode. So let's go to sport. All right, so I'm gonna put it in drive, and I can do a one pedal driving. So let's switch to that. And no cars there, let's go. All right, off we go. So one thing, this car has a claim 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds. And it kind of does feel like that. It doesn't feel really blazing fast, But as we unpack the character of this Volkswagen ID4, you will see that actually this acceleration fits this car pretty well, because this car is tuned not for aggressive driving, not for athletic, spirited driving. It is more for calm driving. So let's do one more lunge and we'll discuss it even more. Stop right here. All right, and off we go. Now, even in sport mode, it actually feels like you're in comfort mode. There's hardly any difference. And for people who are familiar with Tesla, you know how Tesla have standard, sport, and then comfort, chill mode, sorry. So this car feels like it's always driving in a chill mode. Even if you put it in sport mode, it's just tuned in such a way to deliver this kind of like a city car experience. You know, it kind of gets me thinking about that classy Volkswagen, you know, bus that, you know, you come with your surfboard, and you know, and this car kind of has that chill vibe in it because everything it does is chilled. So acceleration, like I said, is not blazing fast. It is not that instant fast like you see in some electric cars, but it's very comfortable. It's very pleasant. That's the word I was looking for. As far as braking, one thing I noticed that it could have stronger brakes, in my opinion. It does just fine. I just feel like it could have stronger brakes. Another thing is the brake pedal is a little long, has a little long travel, so kind of need to get used to it, okay? That it's not as sensitive as like you have to press it a little more and then it'll brake better. It's perfectly fine. It's just something that you will, you know, spend a day with it and you'll be absolutely adjusted to it. Next, let's talk about the steering. The steering in this car is on the lighter side. I'm in a sport mode right now and it's a light steering. A cool thing that I like how Volkswagen tuned the steering is that it's fairly precise. You know, it's light, but it kind of responds pretty well to your steering inputs, and I really like that. Now, a car like Tesla Model Y has a way more direct steering. Especially when you drive it a little faster, more aggressive, you will see that the Model Y is way more direct and more fun, I would say. But nevertheless, like, this car does not feel like, you know, everything it does, and as I talk more about it, this steering blends in very well with this car, and it's just a good cruiser, you know, a good car to do your day-to-day errands, you know, go to work, and it just feels effortless. The steering feels so easy to, you know, just steer and maneuver, and it just nice. It has a pleasant feel. All right, and next let's talk about suspension. Let me go on my favorite Tampa Avenue. So we're gonna hit some rough roads and talk about the suspension in this car. And now driving on my favorite Tampa Avenue where I hit some rough roads, some imperfections on the road, and here's what it is. Volkswagen ID4 has very well balanced suspension. It is tuned for comfort, so it's more on a softer side than firmer, like even compared to Ioniq 5 and of course compared to Model Y. Those are firmer cars. This is a little bit relaxed, more relaxed, but nevertheless, it is not really like soft, uncomfortable. It is very, very well dampened where it kind of glides over the bumps, and I really like this feel. Now, one thing this car does really well, let me show you. U-turns, man, let me do this U-turn. It is incredible. Wow, honestly, I haven't done many of U-turns in, you know, different cars, but this ID4 does it so well. More bumps here on the road, and yes, it can handle bumps, and it does U-turns so nice. So driving this car in the city feels very pleasant. So let's do one more U-turn. Man, why Priuses drive so slow? All right, one more U-turn, and look, I don't need much space to turn this car around. That's incredible. All right, so now I want to talk about overall vibe and feel of this car, hitting more bumps, and it just glides very nicely. So you will certainly enjoy this car driving it even in LA beat up roads. it's just gonna do well. Of course, it's not an air suspension, but for what it is, I think it's done, tuned pretty well for this car. Now I'm gonna drive it in my local neighborhoods just to get a feel, like what is it like driving it in day-to-day life. All right, I'm in my local neighborhood, and overall, I spent pretty much a day with this car. I went to farmer market this morning, got some groceries, some herbs, and I've done a lot of turns. I've done a lot of, accelerations, braking, a lot of city driving. And let me tell you this, if you're looking for the car that is not necessarily fun to drive, that is not necessarily, aggressive, but you just want a car that just does everything fine, then this is the car. Volkswagen ID4 is your perfect city car that you can drive effortlessly every day. Whatever the task is in day-to-day life, this is the car. Now, for me personally, this cannot be my one car. This could be my second or third car, because there's no excitement in this car. Your excitement comes with just how effortlessly it does everything. Okay, the braking, acceleration, turning. This is a light steer. I'm still in a sport mode. I don't even need to turn it, to comfort. It's just fine. It is a light steering. Suspension works pretty well. Now, this car weighs around 4,300 pounds to 4,400 pounds, and with a 62 kilowatt battery. You can feel a little bit of the weight of the car when you drive it a little faster, or when you hit certain things on the road. You can hear a little bit of hoarseness in the suspension, but it's not bad at all. It's not something I experienced in Hyundai Ioniq 5, and I talked about it. This car manages its weight just fine, and like I said, it's an effortless driving, and you'll be pleased to actually drive it in day-to-day life. Now let me take it on the highway. All right, we are about to hit the highway, and I'm hitting more beat-up roads here just to experience the thrills of how comfortable this suspension is, and at the same time it's not overly soft, and I like it. I like what Volkswagen did here with suspension. So it kind of blends in very well with this car's vibe, which is a chill vibe. All right, on ramp here. Yeah, even in sport mode. In fact, I would drive this car only in sport mode because it stays green. Let's go. Because it just has probably a little quicker pull, and that's just sufficient, and you probably want to keep it like this. All right, now here we are on the highway, and the first thing I want to talk about here is the sound insulation. So one thing you'll notice in ID4 is the how windshield position here, and it is kind of tilted more towards driver. Like its angle, it almost feels like this is a sedan, kind of like not even a crossover. So because of that, when you drive at a little faster speeds, like your highway 65 miles per hour speeds, you'll hear some wind noise. Part of it, I think, because the windshield is very close to you. Maybe the other part of it is just the, the whole shape and design of this roof lines. You can hear wind noise here more than, let's say, in Ioniq 5 or even in Tesla Model Y. Now let's quickly measure our dB levels. Now I use the app. I used to have a meter. Now let me see, this Honda behind us doing something weird. And now let's get in the middle lane, our 65 miles per hour. So it's about 87 on average. It's a bit loud, I would say. Yeah, it's basically sound insulation is okay. I think in Ioniq 5 and Model Y it will be slightly better, in my opinion, yeah. But overall it's not bad. It's not, I don't hear my tires. Tires are very comfy. I don't hear any excessive noise coming from the cars. It's just some wind noise wrapping around the car. Other than that, it's fine. Now the other aspect is this a good cruiser for long distances? And the answer is absolutely. This is the car you can just, put your cruise control and just chill and relax. Very comfy suspension, feels very solid, soft. Even whatever the, like a joints, whatever you hit on the freeway, it handles it pretty fine, safe. You know, even if you go in your bumpy left lane, it's also pretty safe, pretty solid. So yes, this car is actually designed for this. It's designed to be comfortable. And the other thing I like to do is overtake cars on the freeway, and usually electric cars do it just fine. But let's floor it a little bit. Yes, it takes a little more time to pick up speed, you know, and then you hear more wind noise. But overall, you know, it'll do just fine. It'll do just fine. You just kind of have to floor it all the way, and it builds up, you know, its power gradually, very gradually. Like in Tesla Model Y, when you hit that pedal, you get the quick, you know, pull forward, like a quick jerk forward, kind of showing you that, hey, all this instant torque is right here. Here, like I said, this car drives in chill mode. You know, it's always chill mode. So even if I'm gonna flow right now, it's just like, you know, let me take my time, and okay, let's accelerate. So you don't get that strong power, build of power. And now I'm referring to this base model. Of course, if you go for the all-wheel drive version, that is a quicker, that is like a 5.5, 5.6, 0 to 60. So that car will give you that quicker feel. So again, make sure to rent a car for a day. That's exactly how you get to experience the car and see if the character of the car, whatever Volkswagen designed this car to be, if it matches your personality. And now let's take this car to the twisty roads so we can actually see the safety of this car. Is this car safe if somebody breaks in front of me? So we're gonna put everything a little bit more to the stress. Let's do it. By the way, steering assist and adaptive cruise control is pretty good in this car. It stays in the middle of the lane. It's not wandering around side to side. And just touching the steering pretty much anywhere almost is enough to give it an indication that, you know, I'm here. And like I said, a good thing, car is in. Oops, no, I have to brake. There you go. That's where this technology is not perfect. A Tesla moved in the lane and my car didn't react at all. All right, now let's go ahead and drive it on the twisty roads. I am in sport mode. Let's floor it. Now, one thing, again, I'm bringing cars on the twisty roads to see the safety of the car. Basically, as we're putting everything to the stress, suspension, the front tires, we get to see what this car is all about. It kind of opens up on the twisty roads, and steering as well. The whole weight of the car, we get to experience that. Now we're approaching the first corner. All right. Oops, yeah, there you go. So here's the thing about the Volkswagen ID4. I already talked about this car having a softer suspension, but what interesting is on the twisty roads, it is managing its weight pretty well actually. What you will see, it is not athletic driving, like this car does not slice the corners. Instead, it does it in a more conventional way where it kind of leans on one side because of a softer suspension, and then it goes into the corner, but it stays pretty well through the corner. It stays pretty stable through the corner. Now, it's not a fun car necessarily to go through the corners. Like, this is not something you're gonna enjoy driving around, you know, your back roads, but it is safe. The car tells me that if somebody breaks in front of me, you can make those maneuvers to overtake the car and it'll stay in place. Like now when I'm turning, twisting and turning, basically I am also kind of moving. My body also moves. I don't see this advantage that usually like Tesla will show you or Hyundai Ioniq 6 will show you, how the car will stay in the middle because of the battery being inner center. It helps this car to stay through the corner, but it still kind of leans to one side and then it just stays. It stays planted. That's what I like about this. So despite being, you know, soft, it is still, the way it does the maneuvers, it still stays pretty safe. And if it loses a little bit of traction, then the rear will start slipping. No dancing, no unwanted moves on the chassis. Nothing that'll tell me that, oh, whoa, whoa, like, you know, this car cannot do this. No, it does it pretty fine. So kudos to Volkswagen that they managed to make this city chill type of a car stable and safe as well. So I'm pretty pleased to see this. And all my steering inputs are pretty, actually, you know, pretty, it kind of responds pretty instantaneous to my steering inputs, and it manages weight with that pretty well. Like in Kia EV6, for example, I noticed how tires would feel overwhelmed in the corners because the weight would shift so much, right? These cars are heavier. Here, it is not overwhelmed. Yes, this is not a sport car, this is not Model Y even, but it can still do this cornering just fine. So this is what the Volkswagen ID4 is all about. Now, after I completed my entire driving this car in the city, highway, and twisty roads, I pretty much have all my data, and now I'm gonna share with you what is the character of this car, who would be the right person to buy it, and would I personally buy it. Stay tuned. All right, and I just completed dynamic drive of this Volkswagen ID4. Now I'm enjoying this seat that has a massage function in it. I think that's a really cool option to have. So what do I think about Volkswagen ID4? As far as technology, this is not the most technologically driven car, right? It has a 62 kilowatt battery, but it has 209 miles of range, 0 to 67.6 seconds, where Model Y will do like 240 miles of range with like a 58 kilowatt battery, which is a little smaller. Ioniq 5 will do like 220 miles of range, and they'll both be quicker, right? The Model Y will be a second quicker than this. But nevertheless, Volkswagen used their engineering skills to build this, you know, car that is an EV, but it feels like a regular car, very relaxed, that has those chilled vibes like I explained. This is your effortless car, right? The person to buy this is someone who doesn't want anything exciting in the car, who doesn't want any drama. He doesn't want a firm car because it has a soft, comfortable suspension, has a light steering. This is very effortless in your day-to-day driving. Maybe your second car should be Mazda Miata with a manual transmission, and this should be your primary car for you to go to work, do your groceries, do all that stuff that you don't really put any excitement in. And if that is your goal, then that's the car to get. This car does everything pretty good for what it is. There's no emotions in this car, and maybe this is what our future for EVs like, because as I'm reviewing more and more cars, they all feel about the same, you know, overall. But you have to spend more time with them to see their distinct characters. So now, would I personally buy this car? And the answer is maybe. If they give me the $44 lease special, then I'll probably get it. Other than that, like I said, there's nothing exciting going on in this car. It's just a good car for day-to-day driving. So let me know what you think in your comments. If you have ID4, if you're considering one, let me know if you have any specific questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And by the way, if you guys want to learn how not to buy a wrong car, I encourage you to watch my popular video now on a channel where I teach you how to buy the right car and what are the most common mistakes people make. Other than that, see you in my next video.